All right.
Like practice your favorite part of every day?
Uh, you know, it's a it always changes the schedules. There's so many things. You know, you start with a walkthrough, you go to your meetings, a team meeting, and I just like the day to day how it changes. You go to this, it changes to this. You go to a unit meeting to an individual meeting to a walkthrough. Then you got a lunch. Then you come out for practice and you watch practice. I mean, it's never the day is that you don't just go, hey, 9 to 5 and I'm doing the same thing all the time. That's what I like about it. And then the interaction with the players. The guys are all over the place, and you see them in lunch, you see them in different meetings, and walk. I mean, it's pretty cool.
How did Clark Phillips do Sunday?
He did okay. He did okay. Don't think it was his best game. Don't think it was worse. Just there's a couple of plays that, and he knows he could have probably played a little bit better. But I think overall, if you look at the overall, he did a pretty good job. It was just a couple of plays in that game where this leverage, this technique, finished the play, and don't let the overall performance get lost in those couple of plays because his whole body of work has been very solid, and I am excited about the future of this guy. I mean, it's very bright. He's still a young player playing his fifth game. And so when you just we can work on a couple of things, continue to increase. He's going to get better, and he'll learn from a couple of things that happen in that game, and then you'll see he'll take that off the tape and he'll continue to rise. And he's done a pretty good job overall.
Is he just go week to week with him and Jeff at this point, you think?
Well, but look, we've been talking about this since OTAs and everything, in that everybody in the defense plays, and so. Really like the rotation. Jerry and Jack have had those guys on where, Jeff will get in for a series or Clark get into a series and rotate those guys. It takes, a few snaps off of them, keeps them more fresh during the game, fourth quarter, things like that. And so it's at every position. We do it at the D-line. The linebackers have rotated. You've seen Andre, Caden's pretty much, he's out there most of the time, but we want to have Jesse's out there most of it. But every other position has a rotation and keep those guys fresh and also competition, and gosh, look at what happened D-line wise. I mean, we've lost so many guys that through practice and just next man up mentality. Look, we say we don't have starters, and everybody's just got to be ready to play. So that's kind of what's going on.
Nate Landman's fan voting, so it's third in the NFL in fan voting at linebacker.
I just heard that about 10 seconds ago, Mike. Like.
First, does that surprise you in some ways?
No. I mean, look at the body of work. I mean, guys all over the place. Plays the game how it should be played. Smart, tough, violent, good tackler, great leader. I mean, he should be. Continue going and hope it happens. That would be great for Nate. But what he does for our defense and our football team, I mean, he stepped into a position not being a starter at the beginning of the year, and it's like what we're talking about with Clark and Jeff. Something happens, next man up, and he's definitely taking advantage of his opportunity.
Is that, like you said, he didn't even begin the year as a starter for you guys.
Right.
Is something that you could have anticipated with him, or is he surprising you in some ways also with what he's been able to do?
No, because he was doing it in OTAs. He started making plays in OTAs, and we had talked about him back in OTAs. And this is a guy that punching the ball out, always around the ball, had made the most of his OTA opportunities, stayed in the right mindset, worked his way, kept working, learned the defense. And over time, it's a great story when you look at the whole, and you've been a part of this going all the way back to when we first started, and the things that he's done to get ready to do what he's doing on the football field. This was happening then. Now, obviously, look, OTAs, no pads, things like that. But you were seeing a guy make plays, be in the right spot. And then it started to happen in camp, the preseason games, and then, when he played against Green Bay, that was his first, all right, he's in the right spot. He's playing violent. He's a good tackler. And then a couple games later, he takes it over, and it's just every week just feel like knowledge for the game. He anticipates very well. Love how he plays, the violence, the physicality, the tackling. Like, the guy's all over the place. And then he's a good leader. Guys, he's in the huddle. Last week we were out to him and Jesse and a couple times before we went on the field getting the guys hyped up and ready to go. And he does all those things for us. And but this started this is pretty cool. What he started in OTAs and the things that he was doing has just transpired into what you're seeing right now. It's just kept working.
Obviously you weren't here when they signed him as an undrafted free agent. Did you scout him at all last year? Anyone? Did you know anything about him?
No, nothing, which is it's impressive by Nate.
A guy like DeMarco come in and play for a spot and now playing significant snaps. What do you think that says about his mentality, or what point of growth have you seen from that has allowed for that?
He's got a great football mind. He's very aware on the football field. He can anticipate things. His thing was, all right, being a rookie, coming into a situation, learning the defense. That was his, he learned the defense, and then he just stayed patient, but he pushed himself to learn everything, even though he's a good mental rep guy. And so he's watching, he's learning, and then all of a sudden, it's very similar. He got his opportunity, went out here and made a play. He had a really good preseason. Remember, he had a couple of picks. He was all over the place. And so that's kind of where we saw, that type, in the preseason games. He was doing it at practice, and so it's pretty cool. I thought the guys did great where he got drafted and his story and how he's kind of come to where he is right now. It's similar to Nate in that he just kept working, learned the defense. It is a very similar path that he's taken in terms of just from the years, from when we started. Those two guys from OTAs through the summer into camp and preseason games, like you saw that those two guys constantly showed up, and so you felt good about the depth before the season started, and things have happened, and they've both gotten their opportunity and made the most of them.
What do you think of when you think of the Colts offense and how this defense needs to step up?
Yeah, they do a lot of, run, pass options, just being able to handle that. That takes, assignment football for everybody to do their job in the run fits and in the pass. Just like any other week, it's just another week, that presents challenges that we are prepared for. So we're ready for it.
The energy this week in the locker room has seemed really high despite the back-to-back losses. What were the spirits like in practice and turning things around? Yeah,
the biggest thing was, just try to keep people engaged because, we still got life. We're not dead. A lot of teams get in this position and a lot of people start letting go of the rope instead of keep pulling. And I feel like we got the right group and the right mindset to, continue to finish this season strong. And like I said, we still got, everything that we talked about in front of us. We just got to actually go out there and get this first win. And I've been telling guys all week is, a win can change everything throughout a season. So that's our goal, just go 1-0 this week.
Is there no time like the present to get 3 in a row finally?
Yeah, that would be nice. I don't think we've gotten 3 in a row this year. I think it's been 2. So yeah, it would be nice if we can, get that first one and continue to stack them.
I remember you telling the story about riding up here in the van with David and Caden after y'all signed.
Yeah.
I guess you got stopped in traffic. You had a long conversation.
Yeah.
So you spend a lot of time with David. He seems like a really nice person.
Mm-hmm.
And so, knowing all that, the first time you got on the field and heard him talk, what was your reaction?
Yeah. It's not as clear, but I understand. David. He didn't even go to a normal college. You know what I'm saying? And for him to, to come into something that's so unfamiliar and be able to strive in it, says a lot about David. He don't really say much. He's a man of few words, but the way he works says a lot about who he is and what he represents and what he's kind of grown up through. So yeah.
But he's a trash talker on the field, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
That's what's hard for me to grasp. Like Smiling David in there, and then the other guy.
Yeah, David. You don't want to be lined up across to him. When you're playing against him. He says a lot of crazy stuff out there sometimes. Like I said, I don't understand it as much, but I kind of get a glimpse of like what he's trying to say.
The message comes across.
Yeah, exactly. Very clear. very clear.
Anybody you played with before who you would compare him to in terms of just that sort of talk?
Yeah, like him and Trey Hendrickson, we're together. And you know, when Trey gets in that mode, he kind of blacks out.
Yeah.
Similar to David. You know, David just goes out there and he's not. I don't think he means harm.
Right.
But in that moment, I mean, he's locked in for sure, to say the least.
Hey Jesse, how does what are the problems the Colts present? I know they ran it a lot last week. Taylor might be coming back.
Yeah.
And Minshew had a good game.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, they got one of the best running backs, you know, in the game. He just got his new contract, so I'm sure he's ready to get back out there and, you know, give him a little bit more of the run game back. But, you know, along with the, you know, the RPOs that come along with it, I think Gardner Minshew does a really good job of knowing, you know, what people are, you know, blitzes and what coverages exactly that we're in. I think Minshew does a really good job of, you know, seeing that and getting the ball out quick. So, yeah, it's just another week of challenges that we got prepared for.
And with the NFC South race, you know, you got to focus on this game, but what's the key to, you know, trying to get back into the playoff picture here? Or just
Yeah.
3 to go one game?
Just like I told them, I mean, a win can change everything. You know, as bad as it seems and as bad as it was these past 2 weeks of not, you know, getting the job done in the divisional type of game, it still says, I mean, we still got life. We're not dead. And a win, like I said, can change everything and flip this whole season around. And we just got to go out there and do it and execute it.
Well, I'll get started off. You know, tough loss last week. You know, feel for our players, feel for our staff to go out there and, you know, guys played their butts off, played hard, but we came out on the short end. We look forward to learn, you know, from those lessons and move forward to this week versus Indianapolis, who was a very tough and physical team. We talk about their special teams units. You start with their punter, Sanchez. He's done a great job flipping the field. He has the ability to punt the ball, you know, either to the right sideline, left sideline. He has a big leg. He had a huge punt when they played, I believe it was in Germany, when they played out there, and they flipped the field versus New England. Matt Gay, who's been playing the game at a high level, he hit that game a couple of weeks ago where he hit 4 50-yard field goals. So, I mean, he's good from deep. And then the returner, whether they have Josh Downs back there, which he took that responsibility last week versus Steelers. He was their dual returner. And I know they most recently signed Jaden Mickens, who we have experience going against. I know we went against him my first year here in 21 twice. He was with Tampa Bay, and later on we played him when he was with Jacksonville, who's a dual returner too, and he has the ability to get north-south with the football. So that is a great challenge this week. They have a lot of good core players, and we look forward to, you know, showing up on Sunday and putting our best foot forward to help our offense and defense out. Open up to any questions.
Yeah, Coach, what makes Downs a dangerous returner?
You could see him whether he's playing at North Carolina, which, you know, is crazy. Stephen King, one of our coaches, our offensive assistant, who was my assistant last year, he coached him as a returner at North Carolina. The guy, he could get north-south with the football. He's fearless. He's quick, short area quickness. He could break arm tackles, and he's looking to create and gain that first down. He's not just going to go down on contact. And you can see that last week. He did a good job of fielding some shorter punts, some ranger punts. He was able to run up on some footballs, work sideline to sideline to get underneath the football and catch it. And I believe he averaged like over 12 yards of return last week when they played the Steelers. So it's going to be a great challenge for us if he's back there as a returner. And then he didn't have a lot of reps as kickoff return in the NFL. You go back and look at his preseason games versus Buffalo and Philly and some of those games, and you can see that if he has the field to work with, he can be dynamic and he can flip the field and create some explosive returns. And you see that correlation, what he does on offense as a receiver, and you can see it when he has the ball in his hands as a returner.
You've been in this situation before in terms of coaching staff and not maybe knowing what will happen past this season. How do you deal with that?
You can look at it, that's every season. That's what we signed up for in the NFL. It doesn't matter. You can get fixated on the record, and you can get fixated on what ifs, what's going to happen down the road. But we signed up for this. It's an opportunity. I know we have a game this week versus Indianapolis, and that's our focus. I know when I'm at my best as an individual, I put the people that I'm working with first, which is our players, and we're focused on putting our best foot forward to play against the Colts and put out a good showing. Whatever your record is, I mean, obviously our goal is to get into the playoffs. Our goal is to win this week versus Indy, and then cap it up with another game versus Chicago, and then finish on the road versus New Orleans. But you can't get fixated on those things. You got to get. I'm focused on the process. I'm focused on who we're going against this week. I'm focused on making sure that Mike Abernathy's ready to go on punt pro. Matt Collins is playing his best outside as a gunner or rushing punts, whatever the case may be. Those are things that I focus on. And you take care of those little details, big results happen. So those things down the road, those are things I can't control. Can't control my effort every day when I come to work, my attitude, and the way I carry myself as an individual in the building. So I know I've been in a situation before, which I can't compare. It's not similar. Those are two different things, being in Detroit or my first year in NFL working with Mike McCoy. All those situations are all different. I know that I get an opportunity to work for the Atlanta Falcons. I get the opportunity to work with a great staff, a great group of players, and a great organization. So I'm going to take advantage of that to the best of my abilities with the resources that I have to be the best coach I can be in this building.
You have multiple roles on game day beyond just special teams. As Arthur's kind of been evaluating everything and changing stuff, has any of your responsibilities other than special teams on game day changed?
No, not really. No, not at all. Again, my role are always evolving. And when it comes to anything that he needs help with, I'm there, and I'm making sure that I'm prepared to provide any information for him, whether it's throughout the week, whether it's on the practice field, or whether it's during the game. So that's my job, and I'm always going to be adaptable, and anything that he needs help with, I'm going to make sure that I have the answers to provide him with the information that he needs so he can make his decisions on game day, within the game, before a game, or whatever case that may be.
Anything else?
Obviously, you don't get to decide these things, but after Youngway's coming off a game, he misses 2. Would you rather he get a chance immediately to come back and kick a few just to get back in the saddle, or does that matter at all, you think?
When you say, like, get back in the saddle, like...
Just get a couple of field goal attempts, a couple of makes, and kind of wash out the Tampa Bay game. What, or do you even think like that?
Yeah, whether he misses it or makes it, it's all about his approach, his intent, his contact on the football, how Bradley holds it, how the ball's being snapped. We're not fixated on results when it comes to that. So, yes, he did. Those were 2 games ago. He did miss 2 50-yarders, and we need to make those. And that's the standard that we have here. That's the standard that we have with our field goal unit, all 11 guys. That's the standard that we have with Koo. But we don't sit there and be like, okay, let's get in this next game. I hope we could just get a field goal attempt so we could just wash it. That's not – we just want to win the game. Whether he kicks 5 field goals or he kicks 1 field goal and we hit a bunch of PATs because we win by however many points, or we just win the game 7-0, whatever the case. When we come back to work that following week, that's when you move forward. When we get into the building, we go on Wednesday, just like yesterday's practice. We go through our field goal period. We find the solutions. We get those things figured out, whatever the case may be. The issue, if there were issues, that's when it gets washed out. We're not waiting until like, hey, it's getting a game, kick a field goal. Okay, now we feel better. That's not the case. If we get fixated on results, then we lose sight on all the details in our process of what we do. To answer your question, so that's not one of those things I look at it like, okay, I hope we get another 50-yard field goal. Whatever opportunity we get, we're directly correlated to putting on points. So whether we get 1 opportunity or if we get 10 opportunities, our expectation is to put points on the board every single time. And our field goal unit has done a really great job this year. It's unfortunate that, yes, we did miss 2 field goals that game. But I know that when we showed up for Carolina and we had the PAT attempt, we would make sure the snap was good, the hold was good, our protection was good, and that Koo make good contact on the football. And that's how we are on the practice field. We treat those reps like game reps each and every time. So if we have 6 reps in the field goal period, each and every rep is a reset button. Because you shouldn't have back-to-back field goals. It's not like first, second down. So when we hit that field goal, reset, let's do the next one. Reset, let's hit the next one. And it's no different than the guys that are rushing off field goal block. That's our mindset, and that's how we approach each and every rep when we go into a game.
In terms of you guys make a quarterback change again, from your vantage point,
Yep.
why didn't this work?
Well, anytime you go into a situation with the quarterback, one of those where go out there with performance and everything else, trying to win football games. Some things don't go the way that you want. Unfortunately, at times, when you play the position, there's things that you can control and there's things that you can't. The things that you can control, you try to do the best of your ability, and you have to accept the things that you can't, and you got to play and try to play your best football. And at times that works out, and other times it doesn't. And we're sitting here today with Taylor now as a quarterback, going in to play the Colts.
You've kind of been in this situation somewhat before in your own career. Like, what do you explain to him? What do you talk to him about?
Yeah, I think in my coaching career specifically, I've been a part of this and observed it from other friends of mine who coach the quarterback in the National Football League, and I think one of the bigger things is, again, it's about what you do with your opportunities at this level, and then when you're faced with something that you probably want something different to happen, right? You probably want to go out there and play at a certain level and say that doesn't work out for you, right? Now, the bigger question is, what are you going to do and how are you going to adjust? And I think for any player, regardless if it's Dez or it's another position, this business, coaching and playing, is about how you respond. There's going to be things that occur to you that some by your own doing, some not. The reality is you're going to be faced with something. Your response, ultimately, in my position or any position that's fortunate enough to be in this league, right? That's how ultimately you want to be able to be judged and you want to be able to grow from. And so if there's adversity or I sometimes look, right, Michael, when there's things that are going really well, regardless of position, but when things are going really well, sometimes that response tells you as much about the person, all right, is when they're facing something that's maybe not going as well. And I think when you go through different situations, you do find out a lot about yourself. And I'm even speaking for myself, as a coach, right? You get into a situation, things don't go the way that maybe in your mind you planned, so you go back to a reevaluation of yourself, because I think that's where it all starts. You go back to, okay, what could I have done differently, and what can I do the next time I'm presented with either an issue or a challenge, and you go through your process. And sometimes you go through that process, just like when we go after a game and you're like, man, I really like that plan. Okay, things didn't go according to exactly how we thought. Why? And some of those things are completely in your control that you can either fix or stay the course, and some are out of your control. And I think that's no different when you're playing the quarterback spot. We say it all the time. When that ball leaves your hand, you got to be okay, because it's completely out of your control. And you have to be okay with the result. And if you're not, you have to ask yourself, why not? But you lose the control once it leaves your fingertips. And that's what we sign. Everybody who's ever played the position is what you sign up for. And like I said before in here, when you sign up to play NFL quarterback, you sign up for the good and the bad of it all. Just like when you sign up to be a coach here. You sign up for some of the great things that happen and some things, right, you're trying to challenge yourself and get better at.
You just said that, you look at things as a coach and maybe, what could you have maybe done better?
Yeah, sure. You always want to take personal accountability in this business. You want to have, and I'm sure Coach Smith has talked about it as well, like the shared accountability. When you're coaching any position and you're involved in anything, regardless if you're titled that position coach or not, right, you're always going through it. Even when when players are playing at their highest level, you're still reevaluating, right? Hey, what am I doing here that's either helping the player, maybe not, but you're always going through that process. And again, you go out there and it's every decision a quarterback makes, you go back through it with them, regardless of the outcome. You go through the process. And then you talk about, hey, how did you understand that? How did you see that? What was your explanation of that? And then I go back through the same process. Okay, what was the teaching method of that? How was it drilled? What are we looking at? Yeah, you always go back to accountability, regardless of if it's good or it's bad. I think sometimes people look at accountability as a negative situation when things aren't going well and you're, I'm going to sit up here and be a martyr and take That's what I'm saying. You take accountability regardless of the action, right, when you sign up and you're fortunate enough to be in these positions. And that's basically what you go through and I go through individually. And it's, I think, a different process for everybody. You bring another coach up here and he'll talk about his process completely different. And I think you have to find one that works for you. And being in this business for a decent amount of years, you go through each process and you think of yourself, okay, is there other experiences I can rely on? If not, hey, there's something new. Okay, what am I going to learn from it, good or bad? And it's an awesome opportunity as an individual person to grow, because I think that's ultimately how you do grow. Okay, again, if everything was great comfort and everything else, I don't know if you really reach your true potential. Like, I know when I was a player, sometimes my worst games, I learned the most about myself. Sometimes my best games, I thought I just moved on too quickly. And same as a coach, sometimes when you go through a performance that you're like, man, that didn't work out, the evaluation becomes real and it comes fast. And when things are going great, sometimes you don't maybe take the same process of that. And so it's an awesome opportunity for me individually to help Dez, to help any quarterback, to help any player in my position to grow. And you saw it yesterday in practice, great attitude from the quarterback room, no different than they'll see from me going out and practice here in about 20 minutes.
Taylor brings a little bit of a, let's cut it loose attitude to the position. Is there some value in that for y'all at this moment?
I think, when you talk about Taylor, right, you have a player, not to give away his age, but right, 30, been in some, different situations in his career. I love the journeys of NFL quarterbacks. There's some that are just Hollywood scripted, right? They're drafted a certain position, everything works out for them. And then you have the guys that are really the Hollywood scripts that fight through a ton of adversity, right? Go through a number of situations, sometimes count it out, and then they find a way, right? And that's what attracted us to Taylor in the first place, and that's why he's an Atlanta Falcon and we signed in the offseason. We played against him. We saw the different energy he brings, but you saw a veteran guy who's been through a number of different situations that carries himself a certain way. And so he's been exactly as advertised in the different situations that he's been presented, and no different this week.
With an offense that I imagine is looking for a little confidence, does that attitude help with that?
Well, I think, anytime you have a different guy that's making decisions at the quarterback spot, yeah, the offense does sometimes take the personality of that person. But I think in terms of the way that we go about it, I love the way we go out and practice. And I know sometimes the outcome, right, we'll be the first to tell you as coaches is not what we wanted in some of those situations in the games. But in terms of the way the energy and how they go out and the players that we have and the coaches that we have and go out and do their job, I feel beyond fortunate to be part of something like this, because the energy even yesterday was, for December, middle of December, late December, unbelievable. And it's a credit to the people. Again, you need to go out there and finish the job. Completely understand that. But to see the spirit of the individuals, and you can even point to a Des Ridder who, obviously Taylor Heineke's in there taking the snaps, and Des Ridder's out there with great energy. It's a people business first. That's the one thing I have learned over the course of the different years. And if you have the right people in all the different parts, not just the players, but the coaches and the front office and the support, you want it more than anything for it to turn out to have great success, because when you're with the right people who believe the right things and who do it for the right reasons, that's a special place. And that's why I think you see the players respond the way they do, and you see the coaches go out there and coach them with great energy, is because we do feel that there's something special here.
From what we've seen, it seems like Des has handled the change very well and maturely. You have to remind yourself how young he is.
I asked him today. Sometimes I forget, right? Yeah, he's 24. I have a daughter who's 16, so sometimes I scratch, I know I look a lot older without the hat on. But yeah, there are times, right? He's 24. He's played a lot of football when you think of his college career, and then 16 or so starts here in the National Football League. Second year, right? And I think you go through the process of an NFL quarterback, and I said this before, if it was the same timetable for everyone, right, I think there'd be a formula everyone would follow. But when it comes to NFL quarterback, they all develop at different stages. And there was things this year that you can point to that were really, really good at Desmond, at his performance level. There's things that he's going to grow from. And, again, it's not the end of the journey. And what you love about him is his spirit. And I think that carries you further in this league than anything else, is your internal fortitude to be able to handle different situations and know who you are as a person and know that you have a job to do, but regardless of outcomes, it's not going to change essentially your DNA of who you are.
Anything else? Is it something
Yeah.
you learned yourself?
In what regard?
When you talk about carrying it further, you've talked a lot of
Yeah.
2+ years about
Mm-hmm.
what went well and didn't in your playing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That you learned.
There's no doubt. And it's one of those things where I always thought if I had a child, right, who was fortunate to somehow navigate his way and be in one of these rare air positions of an NFL quarterback, like, there were so many things that I would tell him that was opposite of what I had done. And that is one of the major reasons, speaking for myself, that I got into coaching, was to be the opposite of how I handled situations through my experiences, because I know how I handled it, what the end result was. And it wasn't something that I want anybody else to experience. I want guys that I'm associated with to have the most success they've ever dreamt of, right? So that's part of the process.
Yeah, Coach. Defense. What are some of the issues? I guess it starts with Buckner and Grover up front.
Yeah, I think, and I love the way that Coach Bradley, just in the different places that we've had a chance to play against him, you love the way that he gets his guys to play at a fast, violent level. When you see it, when you turn on the film, again, I haven't played him in a few years, but when you put the film on, there's a reason why they're obviously winning football games and playing at a high level. They do a great job of playing with vision in the back end. That's why the turnovers are occurring. They do a great job attacking the football in the ball carrier's hands. They do a really, really good job of mixing up the front to get to the quarterback, and they don't have to do it with pressure. And that is a testament to how they play up front, how the linebackers do a great job of vision. And, again, you just look at how they try to play you structurally, right? They know exactly, right, what their identity is and how they want to play defensive football.